All right, it's 10, so we'll start now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vikram. I teach history at Bahana College. And today we have reached the last day session of this online workshop dealing with research, methodology, and academic publications with special focus on scientific tools and software. Throughout this week, we have had some tremendously power-packed sessions by renowned research persons from across the country and beyond. Uh, the addresses they have delivered has been insightful and informative, and the discussions very lively. So it's no surprise that today we end our conference on a high note. And to realize this, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Nandita Saikia from JNU. She will speak on the wider issue of publishing our research. Now, this topic lies at the very locus of what constitutes the world of academia. Regardless of where we lie in the spectrum concerning our approach to publishing, we all desire to have our research and its implications reaching out to a wider audience. And that's where publishing comes in handy. In one of our previous sessions, we actually had an insider's view of the world of publishing. Today, we shall have a glimpse of how to navigate this world from the vantage point of a senior academician. But before we go to our speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce her. Dr. Nandita Saikia is currently an assistant professor of population studies at the Center for Study of Regional Systems in Jawaharlal Nehru University. Regional Development, CSRD, Jawaharlal Nehru University. She has a doctorate from International Institute of Population Studies, Mumbai. A seasoned demographer, she has been a postdoctoral fellow at International Institute of Applied Systems Analysis in Austria, and has also spent her time with Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research in Germany. Prior to joining JNU, she worked with Institute of Economic Growth. Dr. Saikia's research interests encompass formal demography, mortality of cause and death studies, socioeconomic and regional inequalities in health, undocumented migration, and demography of tribal population. Ma'am, on behalf of our entire college, I welcome you and offer you my gratitude for agreeing to join us today. And I hope our participants today will immensely benefit from your expertise and your experience. But before we begin today's session, I would bring to everyone's attention that like the previous days, we also have a specific code for this session. The code for today's session is MOVIE, M-O-V-I-E. I repeat, the code for today's session is MOVIE. Please note it down as it will be required later. I'd also like to request our participants to please keep their microphones muted while the speaker is delivering their address. And if you have any questions for the speaker, you can type them in the chat box of the Google Meet interface, or you can address them directly to the speaker once they are done. And now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Nandita Saikia for today's proceedings. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Vikram. Before I start my talk, can I have an idea about the participants? Are the students, are the faculty members, or what are the different backgrounds? Are they from, all of them are from social science background? Can you just brief me?
Most of them, I presume, are faculty members. Many of them are early career scholars. Also, we have senior academicians, so it's a quite diverse range. And also, we have participants from across disciplines, both the physical sciences and social sciences.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay, so I understand that I have checked quickly the program of the course. This course, it was very interesting, and I have seen that all the important aspects of the research has been already discussed. Today we are at the last session on publication issues, and I think it is most important, one of the most important part, of course. And very often we see there has been a lot of confusion or questions or issues or concerns by the people who are not so much experienced with publication. I have not prepared any specific PowerPoint or something, but from my experience, I would like to address different aspects, starting from identifying issue to the end. But before that, I would like to hear some questions or concerns or comments and queries from all the participants next 5 to 6 minutes, so that, or if it is needed even more, so that I can address their issues. Because depending on the audience, I really do not have idea what is the level of publication experience do they have. So therefore, can I ask all of you to ask me a few questions or concerns about publication? I'm going to share my page, and I'm going to type it down the key points, and after that I will address those issues one by one. And it will also make the session very interesting, I think. Let me share the screen. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell some of the question participants? You can unmute and ask any question.
Please confirm I'm audible.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Hold on, you are not audible.
Participants, you can ask a question in the chat box also. If there is a network issue, then you can ask your question in chat box.
Krishna Kumar sir, excuse me, Krishna Kumar sir. Krishna Kumar.
Yeah.
Please, ma'am, continue.
Yes, you can ask some questions to me. I will just type it out, the key points. It should not be too long. Okay. What problems you face?
It will be better if they type the question in the chat box, because due to network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is also fine. Yes. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, let me begin with yesterday. We had one resource person who is from Oxford University Press, but he basically deals with textbook and other things. His main area of work is not research. But participants raised few questions related to predatory journals, and it will be better if you can clear these things. What is a predatory journal, and why we should avoid this, and how to identify that this journal is predatory or not?
Yes. Okay, that is one. Predatory journal, I will speak about it. And any other concern? Please, you have to be quick. We can, another 5 minutes, we can take questions, because I have already a lot of points to share with you.
There is a question in the chat box.
Okay.
How could I select an adequate journal for the article publication?
Okay, great question. Right. Case of plagiarism. Yes, right. Very good. Yes. Anything else? What problems? I'm sure that all of you have tried to publish. At least you have initiated some research and you face some kind of problem. It can be very naive, but still you can share with me. It should not be one-way monologue. Should it be?
No, ma'am. Dialogue will be better.
Yes, so it should be, okay, what is H index? Yes, anything else? If there is no question, it is not interesting to take a class or lecture. How could I deal with publication fees? Okay. Oh, I think participants does not have any much query. Give some idea about free plagiarism checker. Should I start writing, keeping in mind in journal style or my research work? Yes. I want to know more about Music Careless Journal. Okay. How do we decide? Yes. Okay. Savita Panchal, do you have any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so let me start. How do we decide? Yeah, let me start. I thought there will be many questions and it will be so lively and easy, but I don't know. Let me try from my side. I'll try to answer some questions which when I was thinking how to start a publishing, how to publish a work, I was just noted down the main points, and on those points I'll be speaking. Okay, so first of all, why it is important? I have not prepared any PPT or PowerPoint because I was extremely occupied with some other stuff. And just now before the class, I just pointed out, I just noted down all these points. And I hope it will be fine for you without PowerPoint because you must be very much engrossed with PowerPoint in last 1 week. This one I want to make like a story or very easy informal discussion. And I just want your curiosity. Okay. So first of all, why publication is important? And there is a quotation like publish or perish. Research, it has to be published or perish. If you don't publish, it is just nothing but junk in library or trash in library. It is dumped in library. Why? Because when paper research, you are getting a degree, PhD or MPhil or MA dissertation you are writing, and you got the degree, and afterwards, if it is not published, if it is not open toward the wider world, there is no one to look at it. Okay, and those will be just lying in the library, and even the authenticity or quality of your research work will not be determined because in absence of publication, your thesis or dissertation or term paper is nothing, not beyond your supervisor and yourself. Because if it is not published, audience is too limited, and audience is you and your supervisor, at the most 1 or 2 more faculties in the center or university. It has happened nowadays in higher education, particularly universities like JNU or other big universities. When people are doing studies, even during presentation, that because faculties are so much occupied with multiple work, even students are occupied. So very often, even during presentation day, defense day, there is not more than 10 or 12%. In very often, in many of the centers I have observed, and sometimes it can be even lower. So when you are spending your most crucial time, particularly when you are at young age, you are spending 3 to 4 years of your time, and you are giving all kind of effort, you are taking pain and frustration, so much energy and so on, and but it is not going to the outer world, there's no use. Quality is not determined. This is first one. Like as a person or as a or anyone, everyone would like to check the quality of our own work. So if that paper or thesis or dissertation is not published just as used to get the degree, it is of no use. Secondly, that why publishing is important. It is must for career advancement. All of you know. Career advancement and can be seen in 2-3 ways. Of course, one is that just to get a job, and another is to that how much reputation or fame or influence, not even fame, but rather you want to influence your academic world, or through academic work, you want to influence the society. For that also, publication is important. So once you apply for college teacher or university teacher, or you are applying for your promotion, you must be aware there are like API score and so on. But even then, there is again a question that even we have this API score, which we can get from publication, and even suppose there are three candidates for one post, and everyone has same API score, but then who will be preferred if there is not much political intervention? In general, it is possible. Then basically those candidates will be chosen who has high impact factor or highly influenced publications. Okay, so publication is must to grade ourselves and also to advance through career or to influence the society. Next is that where to publish. So whenever we take a research, ultimate objective is that it should influence our society in a positive way. We have two different objectives. First one is that whenever we take a research, we either want to add a new thing in the society, in the existing knowledge. It can be any area. Say for population, I may be interested to add some new knowledge. Say now COVID mortality has started, COVID related deaths started. There was not much data or information before 2020. And now say I want to do a study, what is the COVID mortality rate for India at state level or by different social groups. That will be a completely adding new knowledge to the existing knowledge. This is one objective. Another one is that sometimes there is knowledge, but it is controversial, it is debated. So you have new data, or you have new situation, or you have new area where you want to test those questions and find out. So that these are the basic 2 points where whenever we want to take. Now, depending on your research, one has to find out whether you are going to publish it is a book or as a chapter in a edited book or peer-reviewed journal. Okay, so but then what is more influential? Of course, when we go for science, basically either social science or natural science, it is nowadays the most robust process is publishing in peer-reviewed journal. And what is peer-reviewed journal? Maybe some of you already know that peer-reviewed journal is that it is called blind. Usually peer-reviewed journal process is blind, that without you don't know author name, and reviewers name are also not known by the authors, but the reviewers are the expert they have authority already in that field, and you are submitting an article in the journal. The papers manuscript will go to reviewers. They will do review, and then they will give comment, and you address those comment, and that then it will be finally published. It is slightly long process, but because there is no other way how to evaluate the quality because if peer review process is such that if we don't follow that process, there is no other way how to identify, how to evaluate the quality of research. For example, I am working on what population and health issues, and say specifically on mortality, life expectancy. So my quality of work can be evaluated only those persons who are experienced in this area. If I am giving an article who is teaching as a history or geography, they will not be able to evaluate what is the quality. So in each field, there will be people who have been working continuously for a long time, and they have been also publishing. Those are identified experts. They can be working as academician, they can be working in organizations or other areas. That doesn't matter. But point is that they are already expert through their previous work experience. So my paper will go only those experts, and they will review and they will tell that yes, this paper quality is good, and then the journal will accept. But this process is very often it is lengthy process, and of course again depend on the journals. In social science, basically we see minimum 6 months it takes, and sometimes it can be even more, 1 year or 2 years. In fact, some of the journals, like in epidemiological journals, they have very high impact factor, and somehow they are able to maintain the time frame very effectively. It may go to 2 months to 4 or 5 months. For example, recently I have published in a journal called Lancet Global Health, which have impact factor around 22, and it was like I was very happy to see that within 2 months we got the first set of comments. And remember that these journals, whosoever experts we send articles, those are really usually highly occupied. So, and while giving comment, at least one day, the kind of technical paper are usually published in that level of journal. At least one complete day, this is the minimum one I'm saying, that is needed. So, therefore, but to get in 1 day from an expert is not an easy thing. So therefore, this process is long. But point is that unless experts accept your quality, evaluate, and point out what are the problems or what are the advantages, there is no other way. Therefore, whenever we are publishing, if we are publishing in peer-reviewed journal, that is most highly valued. The books and journal, one can also publish in books. It also goes through different process. Sometimes it goes to the experts and not necessarily every time. But if we think from the perspective of getting marks in promotion, peer-reviewed journals are more effective, because that takes maybe compared to book, it takes lesser time. But again, book has some other advantage. If you are able to write in a book on a specific topic, which is not possible to publish in one, for example, if I'm working on an immigration in Assam, say maybe it will be possible for me to write several papers on this issue, say addressing fertility issue, addressing health issues, and so on. But when I will able to write a complete book addressing in all different aspects, also connecting each other, that will be much more influential in the long run. So depending on your objective, what you want to do, but for young people who are still starting career and so on, my suggestion would be you should go for more public peer review process, for which which can be more beneficial for your career at the beginning. Now the question of predatory journal. This is the biggest problem nowadays, because there are journals, there are, as I said, that there are numerous journals in each of the stream. Nowadays, in fact, last 10 years maybe, or even less than 10 years, we have seen there are mushrooming of journals. The journals of mushrooming are happening for both ways, for the predatory journal as well as for the journals which are from original publication house. For example, 10 years before, number of journals, or also because of internet revolution, information data, and all this revolution, this has been becoming possible. So when I was PhD student, number of 10 years ago, number of journals in population were lesser. But now recently, in last 10 years, there have been mushrooming in journals. But then, who are the best and what are the easiest? Of course, if we go to the whole set of journal, we can definitely divide them into two groups. One is predatory journal. Predatory journals are those, they will look like exactly like original journal, but they will publish it in one day, within 1 week, or within 1 month. And even if you are publishing something wrong, it doesn't matter. They will just publish, and they will just publish, and you may think that yes, I'm publishing, and this has happened with my students also sometime back, but actually those are not, those have zero, or in fact sometimes it has negative value. Why it is negative value? Because you might have been heard, in case of Assam, there was a boy who was claiming that his book was published by Lambert publication house in Germany, and it was the original research on COVID mortality. There was been huge hue and cry. Maybe some of you have read or seen the newspaper. So whenever this Lambert is actually a kind of predatory journal with zero value. So whenever you are getting emails from different journals that they want article from you, they will be publishing within 1 month. They are in UGC listed. You should double check actually. Most of them, almost 99% and chance that those are predatory journal. Although they look like, from UK, from whatever, it doesn't matter. Whereas some journals, other journals, which are from Springer, say Oxford University Press, or PLOS ONE, or there are different Wiley publication, Elsevier. Those are quite established publication house, and they have been following rigorously the process. But at the same time, there will be also some other original journals which are published from different institute based. For example, some journal, I would give example for the population studies. I think from your respect or statistics, I can say, from your topic, you can, or from your subject, you can choose yourself. For example, in population, we have some journals coming, one journal coming from London School of Economics and Political Science, the journal Population Studies, a journal of population studies. Another is coming from Population Association America's journal called Demography. Another is coming from Demographic Research from Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. So, those institutes are publishing from their own, on their own brand, on their own behalf. And those are quite old also. So if that kind of journal is there, they are equally original. So among the all journals, if we are dividing into different groups, those which are original, they can be from publication house like Elsevier, PLOS ONE, Wiley, Springer, Chase, and so on. At the same time, some can be also from different institutes which are very much reputed and which are able to maintain the journal quality for a long time. And then you can also check whether those can be, the journal is available in the Scopus list or not. Now I think there is a link where you can check whether a journal is Scopus indexed or not. So you just go there, Scopus index journal, and are you able to see my screen? Hello. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this one, Scopus index journal, you type, okay, anything. For example, checking subject area, say population. Sources. Title, publisher. Say population, you can studies, for example. So these are the journals you can find out, and you see that they are Scopus indexed. Once they are in Scopus index, it automatically comes to UGC first group of journal. Okay, so like for example, I was telling about this population studies. See that it has started in 1947 to present, and it has a SSN number who is publishing tailored for Francis, but it is on behalf of London School of Economics and Political Science. Because what happens sometimes in many of the journals, it has also happened that earlier these organizations were publishing, and later on this big publishing house took over. Okay, so basically point is that you can whether any journal is a predatory journal or not. For that, best way is that you go to Scopus website and check that, and then also you can find out. In fact, for example, I just put population studies, and you see that I got journal called Population Environment, Population Studies, Asian Population Studies, Comparative Population Studies, some African Francophonic journal, Mathematical Population Studies, Journal of Population. So these the list you have totally found out European demographic information, and from it they are listed here, and you can also find out some site scores. Okay, so from this is one way that you find out whether this is whether it is a predatory journal or not. And secondly, afterwards, these are the those whosoever is listed in Scopus journal, they are actually already Group A journal. Then another journal which are listed in UGC, because in India too there are several institutes which are publishing journals, and those are also depending on the quality. Some of those are also listed in UGC care list. Okay, so that also you can also go to the UGC care list journal and check whether any journal is available or not. So that's how you can remove your predatory journal. But one thumb point is that in predatory journal, it is extremely easy to publish. And if you are nowhere, there is no shortcut in publication. So if somebody is publishing your article in a week, or in you just sent and you have not heard any information from them, and next day or after 1 week or so on, you are getting that your paper is published. So you have to suspect that there is a problem. Okay. Now, yeah. So if some of you are still doing PhD, yeah. So let me go to the next point: why some journals are difficult, and what is impact factor, and why social science and have lower impact factors. Okay, this is another point. Although publication is very, very important, and impact factor is important, at the same time, it has some other limitations too. Once people are experienced completely, then only they can understand what are the advantages and the disadvantages. But here I would say the impact factor. I would not go to tell you how impact factor or H index, high index, all those are calculated, because that will need separate kind of workshop. But what I want to tell, impact factor or H index, all those are based on the basis of that once you are publishing that article, how many people are reading, how many people are recommending, how many people are citing, how many media news are published on the basis of that, or whether there is any policy implication on the basis of that. All this determine, I'd say, a journal's impact factor. Now, impact factor in social science is usually very small. In demography or in economics even, an impact factor of as high as 2 is itself a big number. Whereas in science, natural science or health, like epidemiological science, its impact factor is usually quite high, because in those areas, actually, number of people are also very, very high. For example, number of cancer researchers, or as well as the use of those in practical or policy implication is very high. For example, cancer related journal will have high impact factor, or HIV related journal may have sometimes high impact factor. Whereas as a history or other social science, say political science, they might not have been high impact factor. Or even population, your population journal has very small impact factor. 2-3 is quite big enough. Why? Because these are basically a small stream. Number of people working in such area is quite less, very highly focused and highly specialized. And then because number of people who are working is less, readers are also less, citing is also less, and so on. But it doesn't matter. If you want to establish in your respective discipline, and it is important to publish this, highly respected journals in that stream, rather than always going after impact factor. For example, I would say my case, for example, population. Say population studies, demography, some of these journals are having either 1 to 2 impact factor. But if you want to publish in such kind of journal, they have in editorial board their real demographers or real experts who evaluate your paper. In that case, even if you get one piece of article in that kind of journal, interviewer body, usually because interviewer's body is always highly expert, they know what is the quality. Whereas as in epidemiological journal, because from population background, we can also publish in say epidemiological journal, but they might have very impact factor. Yes, it is helpful, but again, it will depend which is. For example, in epidemiological journal, Lancet, original one, they have 60 is impact factor, which is very, very high. Even like Nature, Science, they have much lower impact factor than Lancet. Okay, but at the same time, to publish in Lancet or Lancet Global Health, again, it takes really long time and thorough understanding, own research frame, own data, and a lot of issues. Okay, so my point is that impact factor is very, very important, but sometimes in social science, impact factor can be less, but that does not matter. Your quality can be still high if you are publishing in your discipline, which are very much typical, publishing in your discipline and in the journals, which are very much typical and highly respected, that you have to develop, who are those kind of journal you have to develop from your teacher or experts or other peers and so on. Now, for a PhD student, and at the beginning I said that it is needed to publish all your chapters, either impact factor journal or it may not be impact factor, but it should have been peer reviewed. Unless that really PhD thesis is, I just consider as a trash. Okay, so therefore I always inspire my students to publish. Now, how to start? This is the biggest question for the students. How to start the research question and how to start the publication process. My suggestion is that already there was a question whether we should identify at the beginning. When you identify your research question, at that time itself, you should identify the journal. Do not wait that I will complete my whole research and then start a journal. No, you have to identify when you are framing your research question at the time itself. You need to identify at least 2 to 3 journal or 4 journal that these are the journals which will be appropriate for my study. And then you start reading, while doing this research, you start reading journal articles from those journals so that you can frame accordingly. Okay, so and now I will tell you few points within the text, within the body of this while publishing. Suppose you are starting to write an article and you are thinking that, okay, I have identified already 3 to 4 journal, and now I'm going to start. So first of all, introduction. Most often, young students who come to who starts their work, introduction and is very long and complicated and so on. But again, my point will be specific to, this introduction will differ from one journal to another, and that is why you have to study and identify and study journals at the beginning, because in some journal there are introduction formatting or design is different from the others. For example, there are journals which have total words with minimum 6,000 to maximum 8,000. So for them, introduction will be different. Whereas in some other journals, the text size is only 3,000 or even 2,000. In that case, format or design of the introduction will be entirely different. But depending on your research question, how big you want to do, how you want to present, that you have to identify. Therefore, you have to identify, this is the journal. I had too many things to speak in introduction. Okay, let me go to this journal where maximum limit is 8,000. Whereas I have very clear, focused, precise objective. Let me go to this journal where we don't need to write much. We just need to prove or the stuff accordingly. Okay, so that is one. And in introduction, you have to always make people curious that what you are doing, what has been existed, and what new you are doing, or if you are not doing, but sorry, there is something debated and why it is needed. Shall I show some examples? I don't know. I have 1 hour, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I have 1 hour, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I will try to show you some example quickly. For example, this paper I have written, I'm giving typical example from Assam. Actual and ideal fertility differential among natives, immigrants, and descendants of immigrants in the northeastern state of India. This is the title. So what I try to see, what is the actual fertility level for 3 different groups of villages, and what is, according to them, what is the ideal fertility, how many children they want to have, and actual means how many children they have actually. Okay, so now how I have contextualized this one, because this is a very interesting topic, and this kind of research has been done in advanced countries, rich countries, but not much in poor countries. So therefore, this is an international journal, so for them, I need to make interesting why this topic is important in a poor context as well as. So here, say what I'm saying, you can just, I have given 3 reasons, big reasons that, these are the 3 reasons why my study is very, very important. So in introduction, along with that, you have to say what is the objective and why your study is important. So first reason, what I have written, that the importance of examining a native immigrant fertility differential across countries have grown tremendously in recent years for several reasons. Although I'm doing my research in the context of Assam, I have put this question in a broader frame, that how it is relevant, not just a small place like Assam, but also internationally. And therefore, I have argued from that perspective. Then first, a high level of immigration is said to have permanently altered the ancestry of some national population due to domestic population's persistently low level of fertility and high level of immigration. So even in advanced countries, they are also facing native immigrant fertility differential. Say for in UK, Australia, or other countries, where one is that their own population fertility level is very low, then there are immigration, their fertility level is high, and then own population, native population, they are also out migrating. So that is the similar kind of situation is happening, say what we are thinking even in context of Assam. Then, so that is why it is important. And then, second, you are saying that, and it has implication such kind of changes, composition of population has implication, indirect and direct effect, potential reduction of country's original population, understanding this. And secondly, the fertility of immigrants and their descendants can be an important indicator of social integration over time. So very often we may see, okay, we should not discuss fertility of immigrants and descendants, but it can be also interesting in other way, because if immigrants are coming and they are following more their local population's fertility behavior, it is an indication they are more assimilated over time. And the third one, see, the native immigrant fertility differential is of interest to both academics and policymakers, as it is closely linked to overall economic and social implication of migration. For instance, although immigration can make a positive contribution to economic growth of a country, a higher level of fertility can be on the part of immigrants can also create the need for greater social provision and investment. So when we say about migration, there has been some positive and negative issues, but you have to put it that why studying fertility is important for immigration. And so what I am to say that in introduction itself, you have to give robust reason why your science, what you are doing matters a lot at academician level, at policy level, or as a knowledge level. Okay, so there can be 1,000 examples like that. If you read different papers, now once you do that, after that you have to present your objective very, very precisely. And whenever we go for research paper, you should take only one objective, at the most 2 objectives. You should not try to write whole thesis in one paper. No, only one objective, but very precise, and state clearly that this is what is my objective. Okay, so and that is what you have to present in the introduction chapter. Now, how to present review of literature. So whenever we go for introduction writing, and we also present, there are some journals where they want separate section for review of literature, whereas some other journal, they want only in the introduction itself. Therefore, while writing the article chapter itself, you need to think about which are the journals you're. Depending on the journals, your whole format, your whole presentation will be different. So in epidemiological journals, in other social science, usually we have a very big review of literature describing, and review of literature has to be also presented interestingly. Okay, it should not be like cabbage. There you have to identify important and theme within review of literature, and then you have to tell that what is missing still. And that review of literature can be from all over the world, as well as from your specific area or from specific place or national level. But point is that how you are presenting, that is most important. Yes, say there are, let me show another example. Okay, this. Yeah, so this is another one, and journal, say Lancet Global Health we have published. So here, first beginning itself, we are saying, giving account of review literature, that what has been existed and what has been missing. So women, there are missing women in worldwide, number of women are less than and number of men, and there are 2 factors. One is before birth and after birth, and before birth this studies has been happening, and after birth this happening. So after birth there are, say, very few studies. So you have to really hit the point that what is missing and what you want to do on the basis of review of literature. And once you do that, you go for tabulation, discussion, and so on. But again, I would say before you start your research question, and you have to also think about your analysis plan and presentation plan. It can be analysis plan in our case when we use a lot of data, information, and so on. Whereas in case of other like historical studies political science and everywhere, it can be more about how you are presenting your arguments. That plan is needed at the beginning. Now, when you submit your research paper to any journal, you need to follow strictly those rules. You need to go to the journal website, that what are the rules of wordings, how many words are permitted, what is the reference style, what is the formatting style, and how, say, decimals are presented, how there are numerous things in details. So please don't be in hurry, don't take it easily. You must follow each and every of those rules very carefully. Otherwise, it will be removed. Then issue of plagiarism, that is a big issue. I think somebody has asked about how one can check it. One can use, of course, universities Tintin software, Turnitin software. And also some other softwares are available like Grammarly.com. Plagiarism can be checked and find out in advance. Plagiarism can be checked, and of course, it is not possible to do without plagiarism, at least the first draft. Why? Because plagiarism, even suppose some table naming is also matching, it also shows as a plagiarism in the software. Okay, so what you have to do whenever you are citing any other author's quotation or studies, either you have to give in proper quote, or whatever they are telling, you write in your own words. Now you just reframe the sentence, you write in your words and then cite. Okay, then issue of plagiarism will not be problem. Now, write up, I have almost said all the points, but then once you present your analysis, results and arguments, after that, there is a section always called discussion. Discussion section is very, very important, because this is where you emphasize again what is the objective, what are the advantages and disadvantages of your study, and what is the policy implications, or what is the relevance of your study. So in discussion section, in very often then people are stuck. But again, for discussion section, one has to study all the relevant, read all the relevant previous article, and from there you just confront. In discussion section, you are not repeating the result section, but you are summarizing and telling that what are the new things you have done again in different language, and why whether your studies are consistent with previous studies, what is new, why it is different from the previous studies, and how in a new context you have shown something interesting which is relevant for grassroots level intervention or knowledge or anything. Okay, that is what is the discussion. Then I would also say that throughout the paper, while writing a paper, one should be extremely careful in the language. In fact, language is so important that the same analysis plan, same thing, can be published in very high impact factor journal and low impact factor journal just because of the language. If you have read, if some of you have read language of high impact factor journal like Lancet or Science, Nature, PNAS, all these are very high impact factor journal. So you will find that language is extremely easy. Very often people from non-English background, they think that once they use very tough word, that word ব্যবহার কৰিলে হেৰি বুলি ভাবে, importance to বাঢ়িব বুলি ভাবে, but that is actually totally wrong concept. Yes, there might be appropriateness of some word, but using tough language, academic jargon does not help at all. In fact, it reduces the chance of publication, as well as it reduces the chance of influence. So language should be important and easy, so that because your purpose is not to impress with your English language, rather your purpose is to give the message to your research which is applicable, which can be followed easily by the common people, as well as experts, as well as the people who are sitting in the policy making status, like government Okay, so therefore one has to use the language very easily, carefully, and very often for our people like us who are non-native English speakers and we always write in English journal. Uh, it also have a lot of problems also happen the way we translate, because we think in Assamese or Indian language, and then we convert, we just translate to English. But the formation, when we do that, the actual meaning changes. So therefore, to do that, for that, it is always, very often it is helpful to ask some friend or someone who is expert in this language, easy language, as who can understand. If they can understand easily, then it is really helpful. So and then to make the process easy of publication, one need to write a cover letter, very nice cover letter at the beginning, so that you can have, because editors or everywhere in this world, everyone is extremely busy. Those people who really work, they are always very, very busy, and within that time frame they try to find out to do extra work, like as an editor. Say for example, an editor of a editor of a journal is a well-established academician who has to teach, who has to do research for himself, who has to give lecture in different organizations, maybe involved in government activities and so on. So he is a highly occupied person. And same is for the reviewer. The reviewers who are expert already, they have multiple academic or non-academic responsibilities. So the author who is going to submit the paper, his work is that how to make the task easy for the reviewers or the editors. Therefore, when you are writing cover letter and emphasizing very precisely that these are the new things I am doing and this is how it is important, and I am suggesting you these names as a reviewer, then their work will be quite easy. Okay, so therefore one can then do that also. Now, next step that you are doing a lot of research, investing a lot of time and so on, and then you have submitted, and by luck, maybe it is not rejected. Of course, there's a rare chance that it will be directly accepted. Very often it has to be revised and resubmit, and there will be also rejection. So whenever you are having positive news, of course, you can do that easy modification and so on. But if you are rejected, you should not be disheartened. And most of the journal, high quality journal, acceptance of journal articles is less than 10%. So it is even slightly like success in business. So so it is quite less. Sometimes it may go up to 50% of acceptance, but again the quality of those journal will be maybe lower. But my point is that once you have been rejected, definitely they will give you the reasons. These are the reasons. Then you should read those comments very open mind, with an open mind and with a positive attitude, that yes, these are the points which are suggested and let me try. And you should try to address those issues and then resubmit in other journal, or sometimes it may be possible you can also resubmit it in that journal even after rejection. In my case, several times article has been rejected completely with some suggestions, but I have incorporated again because I wanted to publish in that specific journal. So I just incorporated again and then submitted and then published. So, this process of peer-reviewed journal is not easy, but it is also very easy if you are slightly experienced. Maybe first few papers one will find very difficult to publish, to familiarize and so on. But once you are familiar with all this process and you are consistent in your effort, you can bloom like anything in short period of time. 3 points I want to say, that if you want to publish paper, one thing is that important, that you need to have a very clear thought what you want to say. What you want to do, what you want to say, and what you want to present. So if you have clear thought, then one can present it nicely. Then
it's 11
researcher, then reviewer or academic journals always look for some kind of original argument, not just whatever already available in the previous research, that you can think about it. And finally, success is that will depend that you need to have a consistent effort with patience, and it will always give a good result. Okay, so these are the points I wanted to share. Let me check whether I have addressed all the points. Yeah, Predatory Journal, yes. How could I select adequate journal for article publication? Yes. So how can we, it is quite easy nowadays because we have good internet connection and so on. You can be done from Scopus Journal. You can see what your peers are, where your peers are publishing. You can check by impact factor ranking and so on. On I-index and H-index, I think it is slightly complicated. It will take long time to discuss. I would not go for it. How could I deal with publication fee? Yes, that is a very big concern because we Indians we do not now list in very poor economic countries, as well as we don't have also fees to do that. Either wave of, you have to really navigate how to do it. Maybe find out articles which are academically strong, but not with high impact factor. There are numerous journals which are also free of cost. One can publish free of cost. Plagiarism, I have already addressed. Yeah. So the rest, I guess I have already addressed. Yes. If there are any question, I can take now.
Dear participants, you can ask your question directly to ma'am by unmuting yourself, or else you can type it in the chat box and ma'am will answer your questions. Thank you.
Yes, I want to tell some other tips as well. So when you are publishing, it is always good to collaborate because what happens very often, and everyone thinks very differently and from different perspective, different angle. Okay, suppose you are stuck while doing research, you are stuck in some state, maybe you are not able to think what is needed, but your colleague or your professor will be able to help you because they will think from different perspective. So in research, collaboration is very, very helpful. And another point I want to tell you that to follow ethics in research, because this world is so small now, and very often people think that, okay, let me do somehow this and that and then publish and let me get the job and something. But actually nowadays, this is very bad. These are very bad practice. Sometimes it may also happen that someone is doing a great amount of work, but another one is doing, let's say, it may be possible that student is doing more work, whereas teacher is doing less work, or they are taking the credit. Or sometimes it may be possible teacher is giving more input, more ideas, more connection, but student is not interested to acknowledge as an author or as a author or guide in the paper. I think it is these kind of practices are very, very harmful for any student, for any person who has a long-term vision to establish themselves as an academician, as a researcher, or as an influential person. If somebody wants to do that, they have to really follow the research ethics. If someone is really contributing your paper in terms of developing ideas or conceptualizing the problem, or planning your research, or doing some analysis or anything, if you are taking some minor technical help, maybe that time it is needed, not needed. So you are asking someone to check little the grammar, then he cannot be an author. Or you are asking someone to how to show the list the references, he is teaching you, that he cannot be offered. But if somebody is helping you to do analysis, or somebody is helping you the topic itself, suggesting the topic, and also conceptualization, just naming topic is also not enough, but topic and as well as conceptualization and framing or rewriting or finalizing draft, one should always list as an author. Although students, as young student, you might think, okay, let me the sole author and let me get the whole credit. But in long term, after a while, all these practices will be extremely harmful for you. And this, particularly in research, as the world is so small. In my case, what happens very often, and because once you get the name and frame, it might be possible that you are going to evaluate research paper from world's most prestigious university or college, or most world-known expert. And if you are not following ethics somehow, it will come into that internal news, and later on there will be some kind of disincentive or punishment in different form that I would not tell in detail, but it happens. Thank you.
Ma'am, we have two questions in the chat box. One is from Mr. Parthaprati Majumdar, and he wants to know more about UGC Careless Journal. So, and the second is from Manas Pratim Goswami, and he states that as a newcomer in the research domain, ideas, topics come to my mind for writing a paper, but I'm finding it difficult to convert it in a operational way. Any tips?
What do you mean operational way? That just to how to start the work? I think one is that you have to first you need to write down whatever ideas comes out. And this is another tips for everyone. Ideas does not stand in our minds permanently. Any ideas coming out, you just quickly write down. Okay. And then starting, I think how to start the work that I have already told. It is quite difficult at the time. It is very easy also. And at this point, perhaps one has to also take the help of the students. In my students' case, I would say 90% of the students' research topic, I decide, because the students are quite confused with what has to be done. Okay. I would not say 100%, but some students have already some good ideas and they started. So when it is any idea is coming to your mind, you just write it down easily and read relevant research, and then again ask your question what you can do new, and maybe you should discuss with your supervisor, and then you discuss. About Pati's question that I want to know about UGC Careless Journal. See, why UGC Careless Journal has been developed. As you see, the world, these Group A journals, Copa-synthetic journals, are basically from at international level. And international means what? We know it is always domination of one or two regions of the world, Europe or Australia, Europe or say America. But at the same time, in international journal, we cannot compare Europe and America and Indian universities directly, because the kind of infrastructure do they have, kind of facilities, training they have, which is entirely different from India. That does not mean that Indians have lesser ideas or lesser Indians are equally brilliant. But I will just give an example, a quick example. What Krishna has also raised. In most of the journals, which are very highly impacted the journal, they are highly expensive. The publication fee is highly expensive. For example, this Lancet Global Health, where we have published, it was costing nearly 3,000, around 4,000 euro and more than $5,000. So it is not a small amount. If you convert it, it is in lakhs. Okay. So, but JNU, we have a zero publication fee. JNU, not only JNU, most of the 80-90% of the universities or institutes they do not have enough money to pay for it. So that is one reason, that money itself, because maybe my idea, I was in Austria, therefore I have written the paper and Austrian Institute had paid this amount, and therefore the paper got published. Otherwise, if I was only in India, because of publication fees, I was not able to pay, right? Then recently I have another published in another one as a lead author. That it was the same issue because I had the collaboration with Canadian Institute. They have paid the full amount. Yesterday we have submitted another article on original Lancet, which is Impact Factor is 60, and I hope it will be published. It is the same thing. I'm an author, but JNU has zero expenditure. It is obtained from my collaborators. So, so this is how only from publishing house publications are not, if we do not include some other Indian journals which are of good quality, if they are publishing for a long time, we cannot, it will not be justification. Therefore, UGC has identified. To tell you another example, in our own discipline, India has a journal called Demography India. Of course, some articles are not of that quality, but majority of these journals has been published more than 30 years now, are of very high quality, very, very high quality. It goes through very rigorous this and so on. So if Demography India is not included in UGC tier list, UGC separate list, which are accepted for promotion, it will be a big injustification to the Indian researcher. So that's how UGC, in addition to those which are Scopus journal index, UGC has identified a list of journals published from India, or maybe some other places also, which are not Group A journal, or not necessarily always a Group A journal, but they will be also considered for promotion and so on. Okay, that is what is the UGC list. If you want to see the list itself, you can just Google in UGC, I think Savitri Bai Phule, some website is there. I can share with you the link. That's how you can do it. Yeah. Yes. Yes, somebody has already shared the list. Any other question? Another one point I want to tell, I missed that. Publication is one thing, and then how you want to make that research available for the common people, that is also equally important. For that, once you do because whenever I'm writing a research paper in journal, it is basically circulated only with the experts or which are experienced researchers who are reading continuously, or even young researchers who are going to cite. But general people are not aware of what is happening. So therefore, one way of reaching is that if it is possible to do press conference, that can be done. But if not, it is possible, then one can also write article, simple, popular article on the basis of that research. That also leads a lot of influence. And when we are here again coming to the back to the language, everywhere, and if we are targeting general population, language has to be too easy, so that they don't need to waste their time unnecessarily watching, checking grammar, or checking the meaning in the dictionary and so on. It should be just easily understandable for everyone. Yes. If there is no question, we can stop here. Organizer?
Yes, ma'am. If there is any more questions, okay, ma'am. If no one has one, I have one question. I'll be very helpful if you can answer that. Sometimes it happens, ma'am. We have an idea, we put it down, and we also have developed it to a certain extent, but after a certain point we get stuck with it, and we really don't know how to proceed with it. And this even after completing my PhD, I find it difficult sometimes to proceed with the idea I have in my mind, and it takes months, sometimes it doesn't materialize at all. In such situation, ma'am, what would be your advice to all the researchers?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very important question, and therefore, this is the reason why many students couldn't go advanced or they cannot be established in a research field. There is always a time when it is stuck. Okay. One point at personal level, I would say that I would not give up. There will be stuck up. Then one has to keep on thinking that what is the reason where it is stuck, and find out that by ourselves. But another point is that always ask. You can always ask your guide. And here again, supervisor's role is very important. Everyone is not so lucky or lucky. Some people are very lucky. We have a very supportive supervisor who has also equal interest in publication, and some are not. You know, so or if not supervisor, identify maybe someone else. I don't know. But of course, if it is from PhD or your dissertation, it is highly unethical to involve someone else other than your supervisor without supervisor consent. Okay. So first of all, try to think and rethink again and again, and maybe one should also take a break. It has happened to me. Uh, the most like whenever I have published articles, when I have published articles in very high profile journal, or which are rigorous, all the papers, I would say 80% of the paper I was stuck in between. But what I was doing, I was giving a break. Means that maybe for 1 month you are not going to touch this, but then at the same time, back of your mind, you are still keep on thinking that what is the solution, and at the same time, you keep on try to find out the answer from the other studies, previous studies, from different perspective. Then it will be possible. This is one that you try to find yourself, which is giving a break or something. Because what happens when we are in certain problem, we sometimes so much overthink and totally stuck. But then when we get a break and we refreshingly start after a while, then we have a new energy or something, then it helps. But point is that when you take a break, your mind should always be in such a way that you are going to come back and you are going to solve it. You shouldn't give up. That is one from your own. And second is, of course, to discuss with your supervisor that what are the points. Students are always stuck in some or the other point, whereas supervisor, and when you are doing PhD or publication, you have to have 100% cooperation as well as confidence with your co-authors. This is extremely important. Therefore, I have said about little bit about research ethics. Research ethic is extremely important because if there is no one to evaluate at that moment, it is between you and supervisor, between you and your co-author. Once that level of trust is there, you are going to share your concept, and then he or she is supporting, and he has own points to add, and then you have got a certain road. But if you are not trusting your co-author, not trusting your supervisor, then you will not share this concept, and maybe he or she will also take her. So that's how it will be stuck on. Discussing with second or third person is always helpful. And in general, nowadays we have always collaborative research. In epidemiological or population health, 3-4 author is totally fine. Maybe in some other discipline it is not. But even that case, I would say seek help from this one. Second. And yeah, I think these are the two issues. And also, you have to develop attitude of not giving up. This is important. For example, this paper, which one we have studied, excess female mortality, what I have shown to you, it was, I guess, this concept we have worked as an amphil thesis, and then later on we have published, presented in several journals, several conferences, and after almost 3-4 gap only, we finally come out with a draft and it was published. Similarly, recently I have published another one on sex selection, sex selective abortion. That took nearly 2 years, more than 2 years. in between we were stuck very often. And but finally this trans and missing females had merged because it needed a lot of data squeezing, conceptualization, and language checking, or lot of things. So what happened? We were stuck, but we made a point to come back again and again, and that's how finally it was completed. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We have a question from a participant. I want to know about how many written in book publication in any academician.
What is the meaning? I want to know how many written in book publication. Means, do you want to say that how many books one academician should write?
I think so, ma'am. That must be the question.
Yeah. So my point is that very often people, youngsters nowadays, those people who can publish, they can publish very quickly, and number can increase. But I do not support totally only on quantity. If somebody goes for only on quantity, quality, it has to be always compromised, because research is like that. If you want to contribute original research, no one can be in hurry. In research, one has to always think that I am not in hurry. I have full time to devote on this topic, and that's how I can do it. But if we have a situation like hurry, let me complete somehow doing this, then it is maybe number will increase, but then there will be no originality. And sometimes one person cannot get the fame writing 100 research paper, whereas another person can write a novel paper just writing one paper. You can check actually. Nobel laureates are publishing only one paper in a year. Most of the Nobel laureates published only 1 year, or in their whole lifetime only 14, 15 papers. Whereas, so this is not necessarily always quantity. Quality has to be addressed equally. So for quantity is needed, like when we are following kind of API score, but again, there has been also it is not like unlimited. But you are writing one good book itself can give a lifelong fame, if it is original, if it is really influential, if you have done enough research work. Whereas somebody writing 5-10 articles, nobody knows about it. So basically, I would suggest always quantity with quality, or quality and quantity both, not just quantity alone. Okay. Quantity is sometimes needed to advance in some of the cases. Say some scores, or sometimes research gets score, or sometimes what to say. But those people who have really long time and long vision to establish themselves, maybe focused in a special area, original contribution, because for our discipline, then I would say we work as an academician. We have numerous organizations. All the even organizations want demographers. So those people, some of UN demographers are my very close friends. I don't see them, they are having too many publications, but they have very clear concept, and that's how they are able to reach those kind of places. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Champak Kumar Bharali sir has raised his hand. So please continue with your question.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your lots of suggestions. I have just one doubt. I want to clarify it regarding plagiarism checking. Actually, few journals they recommend, say for example, Urkund or Turnitin like that.
Yes.
But the problem is there in Turnitin checker that whenever we put our paper in that Turnitin checker, surprisingly they give some some similarities which are of our own.
Yes.
And so how to overcome such kind of problems?
Yes, that is a very important point. Even if you are repeating your own stuff, that is also like single title. Sometimes what happens, title will be also matching. Anyway, suppose I'm working on fertility in Assam, somebody is working on fertility in Uttar Pradesh. So only their place it is Uttar Pradesh and mine is Assam, but they are totally different. It cannot be different. Still it will show that it is this plagiarism.
Yes.
So I think you need to discuss with the librarian who is there are scope to remove. Like you have to declare that these are the papers I have published, and another way was that because they highlight all those statements where it is happening. So you need to slightly reframe those sentences. These are the two ways. One is that you declare that these, and a lot of cases, if you are writing under quotation, then it is excluded.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
software itself, you discuss with the librarian, and he will show that you can declare your other publications, which are, because before PhD also a lot of students publish their paper from the PhD chapter. So definitely they will be showing multiple plagiarism. For that, you have to declare, yes, from my PhD, these are the 2 chapters I've already published. So then it will not be coming. Similarly, that for certain cases, if you are giving quotation, then you someone's accepts directly, you give quotation, then it will not be done. And beyond that, wherever it is showing small, like in this table presents that this will be
Yes.
normal one, but still it will show as a plagiarism sometimes. So for
Yes.
that,
Yes.
you have to remove or reframe little bit. You can discuss with the librarian who knows about it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, in this regard, I want to share something. I'm Dr. Anupam Chandra, librarian, Bahana College.
Yes.
So in every plagiarism checking software, there is a tool like excluding. There is an option excluding option. So the person who is taking your paper, so he or she can exclude the portion which is coming like a plagiarism from your own writing. And my suggestion is, if you are going to write anything, do not copy the exact thing from your previous one. This is also a self plagiarism. Okay, so do not copy exact things. You can change, rephrasing it, and you can modify your writing, edit your writing, and just consult with, as ma'am said, consult with your the person who is checking your article. So consult with him or her, and there is an excluding button. So he or she can exclude this portion, and then there will be no plagiarism. Actually,
Thank you.
plagiarism software works. The mechanism is it kept the binary number, not your ABCD or XYZ. It takes only the binary number 0110. So actually, this is not a plagiarism software. These are the similarity index matching software. Yeah. So these are not actual plagiarism software. So whenever they will find a similar thing like your name or your affiliation institution, these also the software will take as plagiarism.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Plagiarism
Thank you
is
for
a, yeah, yes, thank you for that clarification. It is very important, and plagiarism is a big concern actually. And now what has happened, in fact, earlier, it is a matter of shame. Sometimes it may happen also out of ignorance. What has happened sometime earlier, long back, when people didn't have this kind of software, some researcher has copied or done this kind of huge level of plagiarism, got the degree, and also got employed in maybe India's topmost university. But now, with the help of software, it's easy to track, and then you see that simply it was a case of plagiarism. Somebody has copied directly some researcher from American countries, and then they got degree and got university position. So that is why in research, basically, one has to always think in the long term. If some of you want to establish a long-term research position, one has to always follow ethics. There is no, at that moment, one may find that, yes, I am lagging behind than others for some, but actually, in the long term, it will be always helpful to follow ethics. It may be ethics with your supervisor. It may be ethics in copying and pasting, or reframing, presenting your original ideas, or so on. Never try to exploit others. Rather, try to collaborate and grow together. This should be objective. If we try to steal it happens, a lot of time some people just steal artist ideas or do the stuff and quickly and pass, and then they may short time they may forward but actually long term it will come. And research area is so what to say, so small still. It is very easy. For example, I have to tell you, in my area, if all the news is, if one of my, this is just an example, my students are quite good, I'm just telling, there is one student to try to bluff me. Next day I came to know because of some or other connection. So this is what happens, when people who are not following integrity, after a while they just collapse, or they have to pay a very heavy price at one point of time, which is highly embarrassing and harmful. So from the beginning, because you are most of the people you are here, young students, so I would say that you must follow the research ethics. Do not try to manipulate negatively. You should use and utilize. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the participants?
And also, madam, one more thing, the consecutive 14 words can be excluded from the plagiarism. If you are writing anything up to 14 words, if it is found similar, it can be excluded from the plagiarism thing. And more than 14 words, then it will be a plagiarism. As per UGC rules, these rules. And also all reference bibliographies, table of contents, preface, acknowledgement, these all are excluding. We need not to check plagiarism for all these things.
Okay, great. So if there is no question, I just want to say...
Ma'am, I was holding back a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I was holding it back. Ma'am, going back to what I asked earlier, you said something about the literature part. So sometimes I just wanted to know that sometimes when we start a work, it might be a very novice work or a very new area where you don't have too many, articles or, journal papers to, refer back for your work. In those cases, sometimes it is most likely the reports from some good agencies and where you have to, place yourself, or some newspaper articles. In those cases, how do we as researchers proceed?
What is your subject?
Mine is economics, ma'am.
Okay. I think in economics, there is no scope that nothing has been done. There is always something done because number of economics are very big in general. And so reports, you can always refer. That is not a problem. Ideas, you can always take also from reports, and reports can be referred. But try to avoid newspaper. Some kind of situation, it may be possible, newspaper is needed, but newspapers in general should be avoided from reference, because sometimes there is no transparency. Sometimes newspaper can be just totally false. Next day they just give a clarification that this was a wrong news, but that you are not looking at right. So therefore, newspaper report should be as much as avoided. You should go for the original work, research work. And yeah, and I think for economics, there are a lot of journals, and in fact, economics are not working in their own way. They are always trying to intrude others area. So, okay. So, like environmental economics, population economics, everywhere they just put a economics name, and so I don't think that there is any kind of this. But I always think that people who are properly trained in that subject, they should only enter. Otherwise, there are a lot of they may think, okay, say this subject is easy for economics, this subject, but and sometimes they may lead actually wrong conclusion because of lack of understanding of the basic principles. Okay. So what you are saying, that something very original, yeah, I think even if something very original, then still you will get, if you are doing thorough review of literature, yeah, you are going to get supportive ideas from that. And for literature review, you need to follow all, like, you should follow, go for Google Scholar, and then the article where you find and their reference list, the reports which are standard reports like World Bank, WHO, or whatever. You go for those and check their references and try to minimize. And presenting review of literature is also an art. Whole actually research paper, writing research paper is in science as well as arts, because and it develops over time. Particularly people like us from small places, like non-English medium. One may think, English medium educated student has advantage. Yes, they have, but that advantage is very small. Basically, it is the originality of thought and your effort, consistent effort, that finally give the prize. When my English is, I still think that my English is still not good. I'm just improving. But point is, as I said, that English is just a medium. And English has to be, English should be as easy as possible. There is no need to worry that we have to write very tough word. किसी को language से impress नहीं करना है. You have to think in terms of arguments. You have to think in terms of numbers in our case, or in terms of flow of presentation and all this. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for all the clarifications, ma'am. One more thing, I would just like to address to you. When I read certain papers, people quote, or they put up something from, and they put the sources Wikipedia. Ma'am, do you think that it is a very good thing?
No, sources is not in Wikipedia. Seeing the reference list itself, I can evaluate papers because I review a lot of papers, almost I don't know how many papers, and also from very top level journal. Seeing the reference itself, I can immediately understand what is not only me, all the experts, because say suppose somebody is doing on sex ratio BART, or somebody is doing at life expectancy, I will go quickly to the review of literature part, like list what they are referring. And if they, because we are familiar already, these are the things has been done. And if they are not reviewing that paper and just saying that, okay, nothing has been done, then I'm straight away going to counter that these papers are already written, why we're writing, nothing has been done. So review of literature is extremely important, and not Wikipedia. One can go to Google Scholar or Scopus, or, as I said, references of reference. Say World Bank, you have seen, suppose health economics, health expenditure spent. So you go to the references, and from there you check. And also by the author, because once what is happening, PhD or publication, we always focus on the narrow expert area. Okay, so we already know who are the experts. Okay, even by experts you can search. Okay. Say somebody is doing say gender and economics, then you can directly search, say, Beena Agrawal's work, for example, or missing women and worldwide. You can directly search by Amartya Sen or Christoph Gulmuttu or something like that. Okay, so by expert also one can search whether there are articles or not. Wikipedia is not, newspaper is not, or this kind of predatory journal, that should not be also listed out in reference.
Thank you, ma'am, for the clarification. Do we have any questions from the participants? Okay, ma'am, I don't see any. So we have come to close to this technical session. It was, ma'am, indeed a very informative and interactive session. Your insights on the nuances of publication of research works, I am sure, will benefit the scholars and also the academicians in our arena of research. On behalf of the organizing team and Bahona College, I would like to thank you, madam, for sharing your knowledge on the subject matter. We are very grateful that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule and be here with us today. Thank you, ma'am. And we are looking for further collaborations with you.
Sure.
Thank you.
All the best to all the present participants here. I hope some of you will do a wonderful job in your future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, dear participants, you can leave now, and at 12 we will have a session for seminar presentation, so you can join again.